Welcome to my Havoc Team Hunter guide for Dragonflight Season 1. If you're new to WoW, coming back for the first time in a while, or just curious about Havoc in Season 1, this guide is for you. In this video, I'll be giving you the talents, rotation, stats, gear, and consumables in order to play your Havoc Team Hunter the best you can for Season 1 of Dragonflight. Before we get to that though, this video took me a ton of time to make, so if you enjoyed it or found it helpful, drop me a sub. It would mean a lot, and I'll have a ton more content throughout Dragonflight and beyond. Havoc has changed significantly moving from Shadowlands into Dragonflight, thanks in part to talent trees, so I figured I'd give a quick overview about what's changed. At its core, the rotation hasn't changed too much, as a lot of talents and abilities from Shadowlands have brought themselves forward, such as 3 Covenant abilities, thankfully not Sinful Brand, as well as a ton of fan-favorite talents. The biggest changes come in the lower part of their talent trees, giving essentially packages to mix and match to deal damage with, including the I-Beam/Meta talents, the Momentum package with Essence Break, and the Glaive and Immolation Aura packages from the right side. We also gain new ways to scale with stats, such as Enemies Necessary scaling with Mastery, and Know Your Enemy scaling with Crit. Havoc also has a ton of core synergy now, with a ton of their talents synergizing with each other, except for Fel Barrage. Havoc's damage has turned into a cleave machine, with almost every talent on the tree giving some form of efficient and strong cleave. Havoc is incredibly fun in this current iteration and is by far my favorite that I've ever played. With that out of the way though, let's jump into some talent builds. Today, I'm going to give you 4 different talent builds, 2 for Raid and 2 for Mythic Plus. I'm doing this because Momentum is an incredibly strong talent, but I know that many people don't really enjoy it. Because of this, I'll offer one using Momentum and one without for each section. For Raid, the build you see in front of you is the recommended single target build. This build takes use of the powerful node Shattered Destiny, as well as Cycle of Hatred, in order to maintain uptime of Demonic. If you want to pick up your immunity or stun, the points to drop would be Looks Can Kill and then Chaotic Transformation. It results in a roughly 5% loss to drop both, but the added utility benefit can more than outweigh this. If you're looking to raid but absolutely hate any of the movement for DPS talents, then this build, otherwise known as the No Mover build, is for you. This build drops the suite of movement talents in order to pick up things such as Glaive Tempest and some of the Immolation Aura talents on the right side. This build is only very slightly behind, a couple percentage points, though this really can come down to personal preference. The one downside with this build is that in order to pick up Netherwalk or immunity, 2 points must be invested into Critical Chaos first, which is a large loss. If a fight is incredibly cleave oriented, you can also run this build. This build sacrifices some single target damage in order to significantly increase your cleave through Throw Glaive and Ragefire. In this build, Fodder to the Flame or Momentum can be dropped for Glaive Tempest for a roughly 5% loss. In Mythic Plus, we're going to primarily use the build I had just showed for Cleave and Raid, with slight changes to the class tree in order to grab some more of our CC. This build is quite strong for AoE and Cleave and performs very well in large pull sizes. The other build for M+ is as follows. This build is a Glaive Tempest Shattered Destiny focused build with stronger single target and priority damage, but a reduction in their AoE. They still have a great cleave profile because of some of Havoc's options though. This build in Sims has been around the same damage as the other build, however the Ragefire build has much higher damage and larger pulls and a more consistent AoE profile. This build is good however if your group means more single target damage or priority damage in a higher tyrannical key or in a dungeon where bosses really matter. The rotation between the 2 styles of builds is fairly similar, with the most complex part coming down to the Essence Break burst window. This is an incredibly important window for Havoc as a lot of our damage comes during that window and has to be executed well every 40 seconds. An average opener for any build would happen as follows. On pre-pull, you want to cast Sigil of Flame with 2 seconds before pull. Use Immolation Aura as combat enters, use Fel Rush, use the Hunt, cast I-Beam, turn 180 degrees and then Vengeful Retreat through the boss or pack you're facing, Essence Break as you pass through them, Death Sweep, Metamorphosis, Death Sweep, and then I-Beam again. This changes slightly with different talents. For instance, if you're running Inner Demon, ensure to use Annihilation after every I-Beam cast as well as using Meta before using I-Beam again to not waste the proc. If using Glaive Tempest or Soul Rend, ensure to use your Glaive Tempest before entering your Essence Break window or to throw your Glaive before entering your Essence Break window with Soul Rend. If you're running the No Mover build, simply remove Vengeful Retreat and Fel Rush from the rotation. From here, your rotation is fairly simple. You want to not sit on 2 charges of Fel Rush with Momentum, 2 charges of Glaive Throw with Soul Rend, as well to use Vengeful Retreat and Glaive Tempest on cooldown as much as possible. It's very important to sync uses of Vengeful Retreat, I-Beam, Essence Break, and Death Sweep together to execute a small version of our opening burst. This should happen fairly easily as they all have CDs that line up naturally. However, if you're using Cycle of Hatred as in the single target build, I-Beam won't line up naturally with the others, and you can get another I-Beam cast between each use of Essence Break. A simple rule to follow here is that if Essence Break has 8 or less seconds on its cooldown, save your I-Beam, otherwise send your I-Beam. Without meta, the Essence Break burst combo would look something like this. First, Fel Rush to trigger Momentum, then use I-Beam, Vengeful Retreat through your target again, ensuring you turn 180 degrees, Essence Break mid-hitbox, Death Sweep, and then use Annihilation twice. This will be rotation in 99% of cases. The only time any of this information would change is if you're using a build I don't talk about here or if you have very low haste. If performing the opener with low haste, generally under 7%, but can change depending on ping and player skill, and not running Furious Gaze or have Bloodlust, you will be unable to fit 2 Death Sweeps into your opener with Essence Break. This changes the math on things slightly, and I'm going to go over it here. It's generally the same, but you shift your mana earlier and looks like as follows. 2 seconds before pull, place down Sigil of Flame for Fury, Immolation Aura as you enter combat, Fel Rush, The Hunt, throw Glaive if running Soul Rend, use Eye Beam, use Death Sweep, Vengeful Retreat into meta as soon as possible to stop your movement, Essence Break, Death Sweep, use 2 Annihilations, Fel Rush again, and then Eye Beam. This rotation is done to maximize uptime whilst using all of your abilities in a similar fashion to the other build, changed slightly since you cannot fit the double sweep in your Essence Break window. Because of this, use the meta to reset a Death Sweep that was used at the start of the build, thanks to Chaotic Transformation. We hold Essence Break slightly here as well in order to maximize our uptime of it in combat. As a Havoc Demon Hunter, our stat priority has changed pretty considerably since Shadowlands, and we have 2 different priorities depending on which content you are doing. For Raid, the following stat priority is recommended. Crit will be your top stat, followed by Haste, then Mastery, and then Versatility. For a Mythic Plus or AoE, the following stat priority is recommended instead. Crit will again be your best stat, followed by Mastery, followed by Versatility, and then Haste. Essentially, in all scenarios you want to stat Crit, with Haste and Raid and Mastery and M+. If you're a player who plans on doing both, then using Crit and Mastery is the safest bet for you. The best way to determine your gear is to sim yourself using things such as raid bots. This is the most accurate and best way to solve gearing questions, but it can be time consuming. If you want general recommendations, then grab items with Critical Strike and Mastery. In terms of trinkets, you're going to want to pick up either Whispering Incarnate Icon from the raid, or Hunger of the Pack from the Halls of Valor dungeon. These provide large amounts of crit, and you want to run one of the 2. For the other trinket slot, you're going to want an active. Manic Grief Torch, Algathar Puzzle Box, Windscar Whetstone, and Stormeater's Boon are all good trinkets, with Grief Torch being the all-around best, both for single target and cleave, but the others coming in useful in cleave scenarios. Stormeater's Boon is very strong, but the forced route can lead to some rough situations. Use this at your own risk. For crafting, generally the best item to craft is going to be the Elemental Lariat neck. This neck is incredibly powerful with a proc for stats, and is going to be an amazing neck for us even at full bis. You want to get 3 sockets on it by using a 2-star tiered medallion setting and a 3-star tiered medallion setting on it after crafting, as it comes with 1 socket already. For gems, you want to use the Inscribed Illuminated Diamond on it, which gives you primary stat and crit, and then either Sensei's Nathalrite, which is Mastery or Crit, or Crafty Emerald, which is Haste or Crit, depending on which stats you want. The reason we use the minor crit gems is due to a funky system with gems where the elemental attribution of each gem is drawn from the lesser of the stats, and this is what determines the proc for the neck. By using the crit minor ones in the neck, we guarantee a crit proc. The other crafted item can either go in the chest or the belt slot, with their other best embellishments being the blue silk lining or the bronze wrap grips. Our tier is also very powerful, accounting for a 10% gain in single target and a roughly 7.5% gain in AoE, with the 4-piece, and should be prioritized. The tier doesn't really change how the spec is played, but adds a nice passive damage bonus. In terms of stats on the pieces, the helm, shoulders, and legs are all very good itemized, the hands as well. The chest comes at a higher eye level though, but it is our worst itemization, so potentially we could have that swap for a crafted piece. We'll see. For consumables, your best enchantments are going to be as follows. For your weapons, you want to use Sophic Devotion or Sophic Writ for the cheaper version. Burning Writ, which is the crit amp, is close at lower gear levels, as is Frozen Devotion, but Sophic is generally more versatile and will pull ahead in top end gear, and is thus my recommendation for your weapon enchant. For Cloak and Bracers, you want to use the Avoidance Enchants, which is Graceful Avoidance for Cloak and Devotion of Avoidance for Bracers. For your chest, Waking Stats is the best. Legs should be enchanted with a Fierce Armor kit. Boots should be enchanted with Watcher's Loam. And finally, Devotion of Critical Strike should be used on your rings. In terms of consumables, you want to use Phial of Elemental Chaos, as it's our best option. Ice Phial of Corrupting Rage will sim better, however the downside is very high and it will deactivate itself often in realistic scenarios. At lower gear, Phial of Glacial Fury can be used as well, as it should outperform your other options as a flat damage proc. Use your sim to determine when Phial of Elemental Chaos becomes better, or to just use it anyways. For your weapon buff, you want to use Buzzing Rune on both weapons as it gives us crit. For food, Grand Banquet of the Kaluak will be our best option as it's a feast, but for personal food, Thousand Bone Tongue Slicer pulls ahead as it is crit and mastery. Finally, fill your non-neck gem slots with either Sensei's Alexstrasite or Crafty Alexstrasite, depending on your need for mastery or haste. These are the crit main stat gems, so they're going to be a little bit better than the other ones I recommended for the neck. Those ones are specifically for the neck, these ones are for the other pieces. That is my guide for Havoc Demon Hunter for Season 1. Again, big shout out to the Havoc Demon Hunter Discord and everyone in it for helping and providing valuable resources that I drew from to make this guide. Wouldn't have been possible without them. If you have any questions, be sure to drop a comment or ask in the Discord. Myself and many others are often there in the Discord, looking to help out So if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and drop me a sub. I'll have so much more content coming now that Dragonflight is out, and it should be a great time for everyone. Also, follow my Twitch if you want to watch me grind M+, links in the description. Anyways, that's it for my video today. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time. Peace.